I'm going to be talking a little bit about what I see for the coming year and perhaps the coming decade as it relates to the token economy. And then we're going to see 4 companies, actually 5, I guess, that we feel represent some interesting aspects of what's ahead. So how many people have now or have ever owned any type of digital asset, whether it's a CryptoKitty or 1 penny worth of Bitcoin? Okay, about half the crowd. Certainly better than when we did this 5 years ago, and it was maybe 1/10 of the crowd. So historically, right now, we're at a point where we're at about 50 million people who have some form of digital asset in the world. That's about where we were in the internet in 1995. Today, we're 4 billion people who are on the internet. So we see the same type of growth happening. Obviously, there's obstacles that we have to pass through, hurdles, roadblocks, just like there were with the internet, like being able to accept credit cards, go broadband, get video, get audio. And so we'll talk a little bit about this. So this week, Bitcoin turned 11. Happy birthday. So Satoshi wrote the white paper in October of 2008, and then ended up doing the Genesis block and embedded a little Easter egg message about Chancellor on the verge of second bailout of the banks. And of course, here we're 11 years in, and potentially there may be some bombs flying in Iran and Iraq. So Bitcoin, you may notice, went up about 15% the last 72 hours. And it does react oftentimes to these political instability areas as a safe haven. So Bitcoin was in the beginning, but open source software is just that. You can go and copy it. You can go and split it. And there was a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt in August of 2017 when the first fork happened. And it was thought that maybe it would kill Bitcoin, maybe it would confuse people. And instead, the price ended up going up dramatically, where it reached almost $20,000 per Bitcoin at the end of 2017, a mere 25 months ago. We then crashed down to the 3,000s. There's a site called Bitcoin Obituaries that basically is all the people saying Bitcoin's dead, going back to 2011 until, maybe a week or so ago. But basically, Andreas Antonopoulos, who is a very good speaker on the topic, I encourage you all to look him up on YouTube, had a talk a few weeks ago, and he said he's not a Bitcoin fundamentalist, which are people who think Bitcoin is the one true coin and everything else is garbage. He said this is a world we're going into of many tokens but one chain, meaning that in the future, even more so than today, you'll be able to go and fork whatever you want. You'll be able to create whatever you want. The market will tell what is successful, but you'll be able to interoperate. There are new tokens developing out there that are interoperable between chains, Polkadot, Cosmos. There are also just obviously centralized exchanges, decentralized exchanges. There's an awful lot that's going on that has just begun. We're in roughly 1995 of what the internet was for the future of tokens in the blockchain. So I'm going to talk about a few use cases that we've identified so far. We may not know what the killer app is 5 years from now or 10 years ago. The initial one has been store of value. That was originally Bitcoin. Then stable coins were very big the last couple of years because they're stable in price. Brock Pierce, who you heard of earlier, or who you heard speak earlier today, was the creator of what became Tether. It was originally called Realcoin. And that has spawned a number of different stable coins that can be based on US dollars, can be based on different types of assets, can be based on gold. Sovereign cryptocurrencies. The Marshall Islands now has a sovereign cryptocurrency. BVI is in the process of doing this. This is game changing. This is where governments don't just say we're regulating cryptocurrency. They're saying we are cryptocurrency. We're going to go and put our central bank on the blockchain, on our blockchain, or we're going to have a separate asset. This is going to be a game changer in the next couple of years. And then corporate digital assets. You heard at the start of the day about what some of the considerations are for Libra, and don't think that others aren't far behind. Payments. Originally, that was sort of what Bitcoin was all about. The 9-page white paper says, peer-to-peer cash. And Bitcoin was started, and people were all excited about using it to buy alpaca socks and some other things. But Bitcoin is better as a store of value because of the massive scalability that it would take to go and corrupt it. But there are faster alternatives. Dash was an early one, Ripple, Stellar, and you're going to hear from TemTum in one of the presentations here, all representing advancements. Stablecoins started with Tether, then you've got a number of other ones that are backed by the US dollar, USDC. Paxos also has a gold-backed token. DAI has Ethereum as a backing, and there are other propositions, maybe using real estate, using all sorts of things to have a stable value. Sovereign cryptocurrencies we addressed that will certainly be used for payments because the sovereign nations will accept taxes and they'll become very much used like the regular dollars, except they're going to be harder to lose and steal. And then corporate digital assets, certainly that was the promise of Libra, to take the 2 billion users of Facebook and WhatsApp and Instagram and be able to go and send small amounts of money. China, that's a big X factor. The day after the Libra hearings, where Maxine Waters and a lot of the other folks said, hey, we don't want you going and doing anything until we approve this, that, and the other thing, and you should be a bank and this and that. And a lot of people missed one of the things that Zuckerberg had said, which is, I'm an American citizen, I run a large American public company, I'm not going to do anything without your permission. But don't think that China is not going to go and copy and paste what we have and have their own version of this in a year. I think it'll be quicker. And WeChat certainly has an awful lot of folks, and Alipay and a lot of other places. So watch for China this year. And that is a way that if the US dollar becomes not the world reserve standard, China and digital currencies and what they're calling the digital RMB is going to be a big part of that. And that's happening right now. Enterprise. Enterprise in the beginning has been, well, let's go and take something. It's not Bitcoin and it's not public because we're afraid and we want to have it look more like Linux and be able to sell software licenses. That's kind of how the internet started, with corporations wanting to have their own intranet. You don't hear that anymore. They now take a public internet and put a stack on top of it that's encrypted. That's going to happen now. In the future, we have current private permission and DLTs. Near future, private stacks being built on public blockchain. IBM's already done that with Stellar in a hybrid platform with a private blockchain. And longer term, better privacy, decentralization, and more of a bottom-up where the user controls their data. And of course, with privacy initiatives like GDPR and many of the other initiatives, the new one in California, that will be very popular. And Salesforce beat SAP for the reason that they started bottom up and still sold enterprise tools. Asset creation. CryptoKitties is probably the best known. Wax is a gaming skins platform that disclosure I'm an advisor to. And that's sort of the dawn of digital assets, digital collectibles. You're going to see these be one of the first killer apps of why people think it's cool to do something on blockchain. And we'll hear a little bit about that from one of the presenting companies, MyDream. And then longer term, digital collectibles will be growing, in my opinion, as fast as social media. They're going to be part of the global culture. When you first went on a social network in the early 2000s, if you did, there weren't that many people on, it wasn't that cool. Okay, I guess I'm on Friendster until it breaks and this and that. Now it's like as many people on social media as there are on the internet itself. Another use case is funding. Equity funding and product funding. Kickstarter versus venture capital. And right now there's a lot of regulatory confusion over that. And I could do an entire presentation on it. Many of you see me speak, know that I have certain opinions on that, but I'm just basically going to say that in the recent past, there was a very successful ICO boom, more than $12 billion, funded products, not companies, and then the bust happened. for a variety of reasons, including, in my opinion, excessive vague regulation. And then also, too much money flowed in, like it did in the dot-coms, and then flowed out when all of a sudden it wasn't making money. That did not mean after the dot-coms crashed, and in 2002, 2001, you could not fund an internet company. They would laugh at you. That didn't stop Google and Facebook from going public and doing very well just a few years later, and then the whole unicorn boom, which was bigger than the dot-com boom. Currently, we've got venture capital and a little bit of security tokens funding for equity. In the near future, you're going to have regulatory arbitrage. We're going to hear from our friends in Bermuda and some other jurisdictional approaches here, and new models. And it's up to the governments to figure out how to not crush innovation and still protect investors and not judge everything on 1930s and 1940s interpretations of wine futures versus orange futures. Longer term, again, a return to decentralized assets and communities. So a couple of quotes here. This was attributed to Gandhi, but I think somebody else said it, but it's about all new technology, starting with the automobile and going forward. First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. Satoshi said when he was like getting a lot of people questioning him, he said, if you don't believe me or don't get it, I don't have time to convince you, sorry. And of course, that's when Bitcoin was about a tenth of a penny. And a friend of mine, Shirtoshi, I first met him when he was selling Bitcoin t-shirts for about tenth of a Bitcoin a piece, $12 at the time. He said, why hold on to the currency of the past when you can have the currency of the future? Aren't you going to live in the future? So this is how you get a hold of me. My Twitter, you can retweet me. I'm at Michael Terpin. LinkedIn, just say you saw me here, I'll accept you. All these other things. Transform Group is my company. BitAngels is a group that I started that's in 15 cities now. Coin Agenda is an investor conference several times a year. The next one is in the Caribbean, Puerto Rico, San Juan, March 6th through 8th. And my friend Brock Pierce and I will be doing several events that week for Puerto Rico Blockchain Week. So that's my presentation. I think I'm a little bit early on that. And I will now bring out the companies to present some of the themes that I had talked about, starting with payments and TemTum. Stephen.
We're thrilled to be at Digital Money Forum. We believe we're the new standard in financial infrastructure. We're the most advanced native blockchain architecture, reshaping the global financial ecosystem. Our founder and CEO is a young man named Richard Dennis, and he launched this idea with his PhD thesis and program. It was a white paper and 6 years of work and research, and now we have a live main net. So we are in the market, we are out there and doing the, proving the claims that we make. We make big claims and we'll share those with you as we go along. But the biggest one is we do 120,000 transactions per second, which has been validated. What we are launching right now here at CES is our web, iOS, and Android wallet with a built-in keyboard. So we believe, as Michael does and many in our industry, that blockchain architecture will underpin the next generation financial technology. So having mobile access to financial services, 24/7, rapid settlement, and major cost fee reductions is going to be our lead. The problems that we've seen so far with blockchain are around speed, scalability, security, and sustainability. I think most of you probably understand or have heard and read what those are. But when you talk about sustainability, for example, there's comparison with a Bitcoin blockchain being, that equal to small countries, and the speed being, 7 transactions per second. So what Richard set out to solve against were those problems, and we have successfully done that. And again, we are live. So our live mainnet does 120,000 transactions per second. And what that gives the user when he goes into Starbucks or some small area way outside in the middle of Africa or in a Caribbean island, it gives him a 12-second block confirmation. That's usable, that's doable, that's real. The scalability comes in the fact that we can do it as to the technology as low as a feature phone, which is a flip phone. So you can do this with SMS and, of course, all of the bigger technology out there. But for the third world, a feature phone with a battery life of a week is something that works. A mobile phone that they can't plug in is no use to them. So. Coming up into this new world, being quantum resistant is imperative. And so that is built into our system using a quantum source of randomness, quantum entanglement, random sources of light, and the NIST randomness beacon. So that's pretty, complicated type. But it's been also tested and proved, so we have papers and documentation on that, which all of this is found on our website, so we'd like you to visit there. And sustainability, we talked a little bit about, but our network can run on the average 2 US people in a year. So there's really no expense to run the network. So what we have here, and it's a short presentation today, so I kind of wanted to just jump in to it. This is going to just start running through the web application that you do, and it'll show you just how fast you can make a transaction. So right now, we're sending he's got a balance of 340 TEM. And he's sending to John 10 TEM right now, and he says, here's some TEM for you, and he sends it, and so, yep. And so if you start counting, block time is 12 seconds, it's pretty fast. And based on the architecture, as more and more nodes, we have about 10,000 nodes on the network, but as more and more nodes join the network, we will become infinitely faster. So here's the block. There you go. Complete. So here we're doing it on. This is the mobile app. This is what we're introducing today. And again, Richard, our founder, he is going to send some TEM. And where this gets used, I think as Americans or people in the first world, you don't really see where this gets used. But if you think about a large country where all the banks are within 1 square mile of the city center, and it's 100 miles across country, how do those people in those areas get to use money and banks? They don't. It has to be me paying directly to Michael. And so that's what we're doing. And again, you see this very fast time. It's all on the block. But really, that's the vision of this company, is to do such. So we'll just, and also we have this keyboard built in. Going. And so that is our vision. This is our passion. Banking the unbanked is a term we hear, but we see it as one person being able to go down the street or down the road and sell his corn, get TEM, and go down the block and buy meat. To create a baseline economy for people who are living in a barter society. They have nothing, right? They barely have electricity. So to give them this opportunity, that's our passion. That's what we do, and that's TemTum. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We ran a little over, so I can't ask any questions, but I will just say I'm personally very excited about this technology and the fact that you can literally take 120,000 transactions per second would allow a country like Nigeria to go and process 50 million disability checks in about an hour.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
incredible
Visa
stuff.
only does 24,000, right?
Correct.
So Ripple does 7,000, so it's fast.
Okay.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
And next up, we have Barger from CPUcoin.
How many of you have ever heard of Airbnb? Airbnb, right? We all have heard of Airbnb. Well, if you don't know what building the sharing economy for CPU, GPU power is, it is the Airbnb for CPU and GPU power computing.
There you go.
This is, because we have only 5 minutes or so, I decided to fly a 3-minute video.
Adoption of mobile and web-based applications has become widespread. These are the apps you use every day on your phone, PC, and tablet. What you don't see is the cloud infrastructure behind these apps that makes them possible. That technology, running 24/7 in data centers around the globe, has seen massive growth. To make new applications work, its creators must purchase or lease this infrastructure. It has to be actively monitored and maintained to keep your apps working, because nobody likes downtime. This means expensive contracts with AWS, Azure, Oracle, Dell, Hitachi, and many others. To be safe, companies buy extra capacity, but most of the time it's not even needed and those servers sit idle. Did you know there are nearly 2 billion PCs, mobile devices, and servers in the world are powered on at any moment, and 30% of them are just sleeping, doing nothing at all? We call this wasted CPU power, and this is the big opportunity. The creators of your favorite applications have to set up and pay for this infrastructure, and for sheer convenience, they often turn to hosted service providers. This results in cloud pricing shock. There is currently no pay-as-you-go option with these providers, which makes them cost-prohibitive for most companies. Enter CPUcoin, a new way to offset the costs of unused capacity, or simply let you make money with your server, PC, or mobile device. We are developing a cutting-edge infrastructure as a service offering, which utilizes a new cryptocurrency, CPUcoin. We call this the Content Generation Network, or CGN. The CGN pulls together untapped global CPU resources and restructures them into a vast computing network, scalable, reliable, and available worldwide 24/7. This new CGN can deliver decentralized server applications, which we call D-services. For example, the initial D-service called MediaGen has thousands of use cases for dynamic content preparation. It's easy to join the CGN with your own machines and make extra money. Or if you're a developer, you can create your own D-service, launch it on our network, enabling automatic scaling and monetization.
So I'm actually going to stop it there and just say that why we're doing this is that there's $1 trillion a year spent on IT infrastructure to support all the hosted services that we're all using with our mobile devices. And it's creating a very large greenhouse footprint. There's about 30% of the time, as you heard, infrastructure is not in use. We think there's a massive network that can be created, and we are making that network. Effectively, we've made it so that you can launch a D service on our network, and instead of having to manage or provision anything, it auto scales on the back end. And the first one is the MediaGen D service, which currently powers Warner Brothers and a bunch of other large media and entertainment companies, which we license from Equilibrium. We just announced the license deal there. We actually think that bridging technology from companies that have been around way before blockchain, that are proven and battle tested, is actually how you should launch something like this, and that's what we did. Effectively, anybody can launch their application on our network. This is actually the architecture done by our chief architect. The last thing he did was NetSuite, and effectively what we're doing is making it so that we can do over 100,000 transactions per second on our mainnet launch. And one of the largest banks in the world just approved our security model. Effectively, we believe with our partnership with Kudos, which is going to have over 100,000 machines, that anybody can actually deploy a D service and a D app and an auto scale on our network and effectively solve a lot of problems with the scalability and the costs associated with launching D apps, especially as a young early developer. The first decentralized app that we have up on, as a test on the testnet is something called Meteor's Publisher. It's actually Dropbox on steroids. It runs on the 400 beta machines that are currently available to us, which would cost us as a publisher over $9 million a year to keep up. Instead, we're paying CPUcoin to those providers. There's a lot of existing enterprise customers, many of which will be testing the system from our partnership with Equilibrium. And the testnet is live. You can go to CPUcoin.io and check it out. We now support 78% of all PCs on the planet with Windows 7, Windows 8, 10, Server 2000, 2012, and up to 2019. And there's all kinds of use cases with IoT data collection, dynamic imaging, mining and crypto, mobile and gaming, et cetera. Anybody who wants to deploy a decentralized app or decentralized server app, when we launch our mainnet, we'll be able to certify one on our network, and you deploy on it, and it auto scales on the back end. There's no human intervention, and there's no setting up, there's no scalability issues. It just automatically, deterministically determines the right machine for the right job at the right time in a fraction of a millisecond. That's basically a little bit about the, since we're in digital money, the coin actually is listed. We're one of the few IEOs that launched last year. We have very good token supply and management. CPUcoin is trading with USDT and KRW pairs at Probit in Korea, and there's a number about to be launched as well. And the last but not least is that effectively we're providing per coin 4.5 euros of Lambda at a fraction of the cost. So you get 5 times the throughput of an AWS Lambda pay-as-you-go with CPUcoin. We are a utility token. We have an incredible team. Brian Rice, who's our CTO, just did a Robinhood competitor, and DJ Jennings, who's the chief architect, was the prior core engineer at NetSuite. He was the 30th employee at NetSuite. That's it for me. Any questions? If we have any time. Questions?
I think we're good. I'll ask a question, though.
Okay.
Where do you see the enterprise economy and blockchain in about 3 years?
Currently, there's a lot of enterprise activity. I didn't get into one of our first POCs that is happening, but there's one of the largest banks in the world came to us and said, "You're way ahead on compute, Sean. We want to use your system to deploy an analysis app that we use. It costs them $22 million to run this app on AWS. We believe we can run it for $2.2 million a year in CPUcoin."
Fantastic.
Because it's a sharing economy. We think that if the dirty little secret is that they all have their divisions now. They all are working on it. If you open up your Bank of America app right now, you can see digital wallets is showing up in Bank of America. Everyone is preparing for the battle of the century. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Sean. Next up, Blocksafe.
Hi, everybody. My name is Duane Jacobsen. I'm the CEO of Blocksafe, and I'm also the co-founder of Stream IoT. That's what I want to talk about today. I'm not going to talk much about the company. I want to share with you why blockchain and IoT together is the perfect marriage. So just some data. It's really interesting. Juniper, 46 billion connected devices by 2021. Actually, it's triple what they estimated. Research by 2025, 75 billion connected devices. And these devices will integrate with each other, which is a really important point. So what's this? Why are we talking about this, and why is blockchain so important? It's about security of those devices. It's about reliability. Does it do what they say it does? How do you really know? Is it authentic? Is it a copy? Is it a hacked version of it? Do you have control over the information about you, your personal identifiable information, the ownership of that data that is being captured, and the privacy of your information, what's being tracked and what's going on with that data. This is where blockchain comes in. So what's the role? If you're in the IoT space today, what's your role? You're either one of three things. You're either an enabler, you're an engager, or you're an enhancer. Enablers are like 5G networks out there. Engagers are the people that are creating that service, the device itself. The enhancers is what blockchain. We're adding that other layer of value to the system. So that's our role. I'm going to run a quick video here.
This year, more than 1 billion packages were delivered between Black Friday and Christmas. Approximately 70% of all homeowners received one of these packages over the holiday season. 1 in 4 of these homeowners will be a victim of package theft. Introducing the IoT lock by It's Here. Smart lock technology powered by Stream IoT. The IoT lock transforms ordinary equipment into smart, secure, and connected devices. Mailboxes, safes, doors, and windows are just a few of the possibilities with the IoT lock. Here is how the IoT lock works. First, download the mobile app from the Google Play or Apple Store. Use the mobile app to scan the QR codes for the gateway and IoT lock. Then, use the mobile app to open or close the lock. All of the transactions are stored and tracked via the immutable Stream IoT blockchain platform. The IoT lock by It's Here is just the latest example of a vendor partner leveraging Stream IoT. Stream IoT is a comprehensive IoT marketplace platform offering a multitude of services, including B2B IoT monetization, micropayments, data privacy and security, firmware kits, and process automation. The Stream IoT marketplace kits are an easy button solution aimed at businesses and organizations interested in harnessing blockchain technology for their smart IoT projects. Your data, your device, your privacy. Stream IoT.
Okay, so quick overview of Stream IoT, our platform. We're B2B, business to business. That was an example of one of the vendor partners building a locking device using our Stream IoT platform. And what is Stream IoT really all about? It's about educating people that are in the IoT space that are either building devices or services, distributed apps that want to use a blockchain to actually have a place to go to learn how to do this without having to understand the whole blockchain stack. That's what that's all about. And then, whoops, went the wrong way. Sorry. And then there's a marketplace. We want to become the Amazon of IoT. We want to have a place where you can buy those Raspberry Pis or those Adrenos, or you can buy circuit board printers, or you can buy kits that people developed that are building IoT pieces and parts, and you can put those together in this market. So you can monetize your IoT dreams in our marketplace. And then, you know, the economies that are going to come at us, and this is the digital money form, so this is a financial part of the conversation I want to have, is that we can go after the established IoT market today. We can work with those dreamers, that guys in the garage, those startups, and help them. And I think a big thing is owning your own data. I believe that in the future, you will own your own data and you'll be able to monetize your own data in a community way. You can aggregate that data amongst users that want to share that data and actually sell your own data. You buy the device, you create the events, you should own the data. So I'm going to leave one thing with you that I want you to think about. A professor that I had up at MIT, Sanjay, he said this: you really need to start thinking about the things so think about when things start to buy things. So think about when things start to buy things. It's not just the interaction, but when they actually buy things. And this is coming where that device is actually talking to another device and that device is actually making a purchase. And then I think you can take it even a step further and think about this. Now that purchase has to transact through the normal transaction processes we have today. Why can't we put machine learning against it to decide what credit card you should use to get the best points for the item you're buying from the best vendor, and have it just do it for you? I think that's coming, but you need to make sure these devices, when they talk to each other, are authenticated between each other. And I will leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Duane. Thank you, Stream IoT. How many vendors do you expect in the next, say, 3 years?
Right now we have 10 vendors we're working with right now. I would believe that based on these numbers, I think in 3 years blockchain and IoT, the marriage, some of this, Gartner just put a report out that everybody that's in the IoT space and is looking at blockchain, I think it's going to be 100 times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody in the IoT space wants to get your blockchain connection?
Up here, I got a bunch of, I don't know how many t-shirts to throw to you, but I have cards, and if you want to sign up for our Stream IoT platform, 1,000 free tokens. They're right here on the floor. Grab them on the way. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Little airdrop there. And finally, last but certainly not least, Allison Huynh from My Dream Interactive, and she's going to show you Adoraboos.
Thank you, Michael. I just came straight here from the wonderful state of Texas. Yeah, so I have some friends that I took to Vegas from Texas, and so I have to give you the Texan joke, right? So I just came from my parents' ranch, and right next door they live to these pig farmers. So the saying in Texas is that pigs get fat, but hogs, pigs get fat, but hogs get slaughtered. So how does this relate to my industry of education, gaming, and social media, right? So I'm in Silicon Valley. I've seen the rise of companies like Facebook. I'm a Google insider. One of the things that we want to do is really change education, but there are a lot of issues in education right now. The people in it can be compared to, say, hogs, and we're getting slaughtered. People don't trust our education system anymore. They don't necessarily trust the gaming industries, the social media companies. We're using a lot of the hooks from the gambling machines to make video games addictive. How can we marry some of these algorithms, these technologies that we have in Silicon Valley to make social media and video games so addictive, and marry that with education and also with blockchain to make sure that it is not a corrupted system? So I was invited here to talk about blockchain, and I really do think blockchain has so many uses beyond just the trading, the early use cases of Bitcoin as a store of value, Ethereum as a transactional way to buy and sell things on the internet. I think blockchain, and hopefully our blockchain, the Jules blockchain, will show that this is a way for colleges, groups, universities, parents to buy credits for their kids, students, workers, to train them, to retrain them, and to really educate them in a way that cannot be corrupted. So here you'll see the Adoraboos platform. It's in beta right now in iOS. We have about 10,000 beta users. I really welcome everybody to sign up as our beta users. So basically, we are an education platform, but it looks like a video game because we want to train people, kids of all ages, to learn important 21st century skills. Those skills, as you'll see here, I've identified them, and there could be many more that I haven't listed, but basically blockchain. Blockchain is one of the very first topics that we teach. It's a very important 21st century skills that high schools and many colleges don't teach, but this is the most important economic foundation really for the Zoomer generation, for the millennial generation. Many of them are already on Ethereum, but people don't exactly know how it works. We're also teaching other 21st century skills like neuroscience, social emotional learning, internet security. But many of these things, they don't teach, like if you get a college education, unless you happen to be a computer science major and you focus on security, many of these things you don't learn about if you go to, high school or colleges in the United States. So we have this education platform where you can learn 21st century skills. And hopefully you guys can, like in the back, can you loop the video so I can go through it? So it's a series of, right now we have like 6 mini games. So you can learn about blockchain, SEL, neuroscience. We also do test prep such as SAT, ACT prep, soon to be LSAT, GRE, right? In our society, we need to have more people who have these 21st century skills. 33% of Americans have college education. That's a fact. The vast majority of people under the age of 35 are living in debt. That's a fact. And the majority of that debt is coming from college loans, and many of them did not complete the colleges, and if they have completed, they are not learning the useful skills, and many people don't trust the education system, to be honest with you. It's broken. The high school students, they laugh at the SAT, they laugh at the idea of going to college because, look at the college admission scandals. That's like, it's the corrupt system. Rich parents are buying their kids' way into colleges. They're photoshopping their progeny's faces onto a swim team. So blockchain, I really do believe, is one of the new internet technology that will make our information secure, safe, right? And bring trust back into the education system. And so I am demoing the Adoraboos platform right now, and so people can buy the courses with cash through iOS, and we're working through the Apple Store for the blockchain. As many of you know, it's a new emerging industry, and Apple is a little bit behind on that. But I really do think the more consumer applications we have like this, that is solving the real needs of people around the world, right? Where we're making things that are safe, trusted, and learning is something that we really need to focus on as a society. However, the system is broken right now. And I do really believe that having a system like the Adoraboos, which will teach 21st century skills in a way that is safe and secure and will really kind of bring trust back into the education system. So I'm really excited to be here.
Okay. Thank you, Allison. And don't go anywhere because we now have a tradition. Robin, this woman, we've been doing this now for 5 years. She drags me all around the world. She had me spin a wheel in Shanghai to figure out what people knew about what they just heard. The wheel of blockchain. But now we're going to have the tradition where we go in, we take our presenters.
Yes.
And we then have, don't go anywhere, there are microphones buried around the room to be able to go and...
That's right. So Michael spots incredible talent, as you just saw. This is one of the things he brings to the show. We have a sound meter. We have microphones hidden in the room, and we're going to ask you to wake up now, and we're going to ask you to cast your vote. You heard four 4 great presentations about the future of blockchain. And we want to hear from you about which one you think, they were all great, but which one you think will really sustain us and be here
Those
next
were
year.
last year's contestants, by the way. in
Harry?
the shy there.
No, TemTum. Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
This
in
was
the
our
back.
last year's show.
Yeah.
So you can feel free to take photos, but we're going to practice first. I'll show you how the sound meter works. So we're going to practice when I say 1, 2, 3, you scream. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
So.
Just don't talk when.
Right. The first presentation, the payment platform, next generation, TemTum. Who liked TemTum? Okay. Next one up is Stream IoT, the platform with all the IoT applications. Who prefers Stream IoT? Oh, sorry, you were standing in the wrong area then. You're going to have to calibrate that.
Switch with him.
Okay. So, enterprise Airbnb for CPU and GPU. Who likes CPUcoin? And education and gaming on the blockchain. Adoraboos, my dream.
Is Price Waterhouse in the house? I think, oh my God, it's really, really close.
Really close.
Just do TemTum and Adoraboos.
Okay, we'll do it. We'll do a second one with just
It's getting tense.
Oh my God.
just TemTum and Adoraboos. Well, I think she's doing the sort of in the runoff elections in third world countries, or is that what you're doing, or no?
That's right.
That's what you're doing. Okay. So this is for so we had the third and fourth places laid out. So now for first place on the runoff ballot, because it was very close, who likes My Dream Interactive? TemTum.
Okay, I think we have a winner. Adoraboos.
Adoraboos.
Our winners.
Okay.
Prizes for
Okay.